Good evening. I'm Reverend Lori Sheets, and it is my joy to welcome you here this evening. Namaste. Good evening. I'm Reverend Lori Sheets, as many of you know, and Reverend Tammy will be back next week. So she'll be rested, she'll have a lot of ideas for different talks, and I know that all of you are going to be glad to see her. So my talk tonight is about listening. So if you see anyone like your neighbor who's not listening, I just want to license everyone to give them just a little elbow. I want everyone awake. I want everyone listening. And I also want to know if people are falling asleep, because I'll say something else then so they don't fall asleep. So when I talk about listening, one of the things that I like to quote is a quote that I heard, and it says, listening is more than just waiting for your turn to talk. Have you ever had that family member or that business associate or that person in your spiritual community who they just can't wait to jump in and say what they had to say? So you kind of know that they're not listening because they're ready to pounce and get in there. And they usually, this has been experience. This has been my experience, that they usually have to say, you really need to do it this way, or they're going to correct you, or did I ever tell you about the time? And we know that that is not really listening. When we talk about listening, just the standard run-of-the-mill listening, what that might look like when someone, when you are listening or someone's listening to you, one thing is that there's eye contact. You're looking at the person. You're not looking around trying to see who else is in the room. You're looking at the person. Another thing, this is just the basics, is that you might nod your head. So in the audience tonight, and tonight only, because I don't know what language Reverend Christian uses, but if you want me to think that you're listening, just nod your head, okay? Nod your head. Very good, very good. And another thing is that you might ask questions to clarify something. That would be an indication that you're listening. But we won't be doing that tonight. Don't shout out any questions. Because listening is a gift. It is a gift that we give to other people. It is a gift we give to ourselves. There are a lot of people on the planet who would like to be listened to, that someone would sit down with them and they would hear their story, that they would actually have a connection like that with another human being. You know, there are probably people in our congregation who might feel that way. Just wanting to be heard. So when we up the ante, we talk about compassionate listening. Marshall Rosenthal in the 80s and 90s, he created a program called Nonviolent Communication, and he went all over the world teaching people how to communicate in such a way that there would not be violence. And those are the things that happen with compassionate listening. So it's kind of the same thing. When you're really compassionately listening, you have eye contact, but it's more direct. And it's more for an extended period of time. Another thing is that you're in the present moment as a listener. Now, we in religious science, we talk about the present moment a lot. I mean, I'm talking about it right now. Get it? Right now. This is a hard crowd tonight. We do. Spirit only works in the now. Eckhart Tolle, the now. It's all about the now and the present moment. But there are people on our planet and in our world who are not quite familiar with that, with being present. Any family members that you think might not know how to be fully present? Okay, 3 is good. 3 is good. 3, it's a sacred number. So we know that being in the present moment, it can be hard. This means you're not thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner. You're not thinking about that saw, that table saw that you saw at Home Depot last week that was on sale, and now you're wondering if it's going to be on sale. No, you can't do that. It's just being fully present, right here, right now, blank mind. And when someone listens to you in that way, or when you offer that type of listening to someone, it's very profound. It is truly a gift. And lastly, what Marshall Rosenthal talked about with this compassionate listening is listening for understanding. And he says that the only purpose for 2 people talking is for each of them to come to an understanding of each other. That's the only reason you need to talk. You just need to be with this other person and understand them. I know that I get lazy, and sometimes, I don't want to understand. I haven't asked the right questions. But listening for understanding is a deeper part of listening. So I have a story for you. It's about a gal named Lola, a little girl. She was 8 years old. And now Lola was a jabbermouth. And she talked all the time. She always had something to say. And she'd ask her mother, this was when they were in the backyard, she asked her mother, "Are you listening?" And her mother said, "Yes, I'm listening." Well, then they're in the kitchen. And Lola's talking as usual. And she asked her mother, "Mom, are you listening?" And her mother said, "Yes, I'm listening." Well, imagine Lola's surprise when she woke up. It was her 9th birthday, and she was going to have a birthday party that day. Only she didn't quite understand why at the foot of her bed there was a cowboy hat. And she looked out the window and there was a pony that said, "Happy birthday, Lola." You see, those last 2 months of talking with her mother, she was talking about having a Barbie birthday party. Everything was going to be pink. Absolutely everything. Lola was listened to because the facts went in Mom's ears, but she was not heard Poor Lola. Say that with me. Poor Lola. And again, poor Lola. So we talk about listening in our relationships because listening is a skill and it's something that needs to be practiced. And I have heard that people have been in relationships where they say, "You're not listening to me," or "You're just not listening," because sometimes it is hard. But having that skill of listening in your relationships is nice, it's incredible, and the invitation is that you would really brush up on your listening skills. And another thing I'm going to ask you to do is to listen to what you're saying. Listen to ourselves. Listen to what comes out of our mouths. I caught myself the other day. Everything is healed pretty much in me, except for there's this one story that I keep saying, I keep telling people. And I caught myself because I realized it was an old story. Debbie Ford, in her book, The Dark Side of the Shadow, she talks about these stories that we tell about, oftentimes it's things that have happened to us that we try to explain why the way we are because of this story. And she acknowledges, and as we do in Science of Mind, that these stories, they have value. They are a tool for personal growth. Telling our stories, reliving our stories, it has merit. And yet, once that healing is done, that's when it's time to catch yourself, when you're telling that story again. One more time, my brother always got seconds and I didn't. Now I don't need seconds, but that's my story. And I know that you all have stories that you may hear yourself and listen to yourself say. It is said that the longest 18 inches in the world is the 18 inches from your head down to your heart. From the head all the way down to the heart. Because depending on where our orientation is, whether it is in the head or in the heart, both have different perceptions. The heart is usually softer, gentler, more compassionate versus the head. As I watched the Olympics, how many have been watching the Olympics? There were times when I would get so into it, like the swimming. I would be so, I had angst and anxiety, screaming for our team. It would be hard to go to sleep at night because I had watched the Olympics. But I bring up the Olympics because those athletes, they were definitely performing from the heart. I watched the sand volleyball gals who kept winning and winning. And their mind might have created the strategy, but they were operating from the heart, doing completely their best. So lastly, we look at our ability and our desire to listen to to the beloved. Listen to that presence of God that is within each of us. We know that when we are in a meditation, that we listen in the silence. We quiet the mind so that Spirit might give us a message that we could take. When we are in meditation, we might ask, "What now, Spirit?" And then we are patient because we know in faith that Spirit will let us know. We look at our intuition as a way to listen to the beloved. Intuition is that small, still voice that communicates to us in many, many ways. It could be just introducing you to some person that you needed to meet that could help your job position or help you personally. And as we stay in the present moment, in the now, we know that absolutely everything happens for our highest good. We know that, we claim that. So the idea of listening is very broad. To learn, we must listen. To have great relationships, we must listen. We must be the judge of when we've told that story one too many times. Whether we have taken the time to go from the head down to the heart. And the way that we tune up our ability and our way of connecting with the beloved. I know this listening is powerful, and I invite each of you to take it on as our Olympic athletes are taking on their trades. And so it is. Let us take all of those names and beautiful beings into our awareness now, into our consciousness now, knowing that the divine presence of God is fully present in their lives now and in the lives of each person here. I know that they are open to receiving the blessings of Spirit now and always, that each person is available, open, and willing to feel the presence of God in their lives. I know and claim for each person here tonight that their heart has been opened in such a way that they are committed to listening to the ways that Spirit can be in their lives, listening to the way that they can have their relationships flourish. And so I know that all of this good shall be revealed as each person allows the presence of God to be a part of their lives, the inner life that they have within. And so it is. Have a wonderful week.